It is profane. Now, I have a daughter. She's 13 years old. She's taller than I am. She is absolutely persistent in acts of rebellion against me, which does not mean she's a cut-up. It means that she loves pink, loves ruffles, loves skirts, is not interested in athletics, all the shit that I'm not. So, for me, that's rebellious. All right. When she started her period, we all knew it because she walked out of the bathroom and she looked stricken. And I have 4 children. She's my only daughter, 3 boys, my God. So she walks out of the bathroom, she's looking stricken. Her brothers are confused, and I'm like, Naja, what's up? Told me she started her period. She was devastated, lip tremble, whole thing. So her brothers are immediately like, oh. and she was grieving. And I needed to undermine what to me looked like shame right away. And it was familiar shame, because I remember being in middle school, having started my period, and the boys found out, and then, there was some shit. So I threw her a period party, and it was cool. And all my friends came, and everyone was dressed in red, and all the food was red, and all the drinks were red, and and we raised the roof to her shedding uterus. And, it's true. It's really true. It's a good template. Feel free to use it. And so it was working, right? It was working. She was operating in the absence of shame. When I was in Austin, Texas for the Women of the World Poetry Slam this year, I got a screenshot from her. It was a guy on Twitter, and in 140 characters, he almost undermined all that work. So this is my message to him. So dude on Twitter says, quote, I was having sex with my girlfriend when she started her period. I dumped that bitch immediately. End quote. Dear nameless dummy on Twitter, you're the reason my daughter cried funeral tears when she started her period. The sudden induction into a reality that she would have to negotiate people like you, and your disdain for what a woman's body can do. Herein begins an anatomy lesson infused with feminist politics, because I hate you. There is a thing called a uterus. It sheds itself every 28 days or so, or in my case, every 23 days. I've always been a rule breaker, but that's the anatomy part. I digress. The feminist politic part is that women know how to let things go, know how to let a dying thing leave the body, how to regenerate, how to become new, how to wax and wane, not unlike the moon and tides, both of which influence how you behave. I digress. Women have vaginas that speak to each other. It's true. By this I mean, when we're with our mothers, our sisters, our friends, our partners, our menstrual cycles will actually sync up. My own menstrual cycle is mad influential. Everybody I love knows how to bleed with me. Hold on to that. There's a metaphor in it. But when your mother carried you, the ocean in her belly is what made you buoyant, made you possible. You had it under your tongue when you burst through her skin, wet and panting from the heat of her body, the body whose machinery you now mock on social media. That body wrapped you in everything that was miraculous about it and sung you lullabies laced in platelets, without which you wouldn't have no Twitter account at all. Stupid. I digress. See, women know the world better because of the blood that visits some of us. It interrupts our favorite white skirts and shows up at dinner parties unannounced. Blood will do that. Period. And if you are as unprepared as we sometimes are, it can get all over you and leave a forever stain. So to my daughter, should anybody be fool enough to mishandle the wild geography of your body, how it rides a red running current like any good wolf or witch, well then just bleed. Bleed, girl. Give that blood a biblical name. Something of stone and mortar. Name it after Eve's first rebellion in that garden. Name it after the last little girl to have her genitals mutilated in Kinshasa. That was this morning. Give it as many syllables as there are unreported rape cases. Name the blood something holy, something mighty, something written in hieroglyphs, something that sounds like the end of the world, something with crooked teeth and two fat fists. Just bleed. Name it. Name it for the roar between your legs and for the women who will not be nameless here. Bleed anyhow. Spill your impossible scripture all over the good furniture and then bleed on everything he loves. Period.